Howdy, and welcome back to another segment of Barebow Basics. For those of you in the Northern Hemisphere like me, I hope you've been enjoying this incredible summer we've been having. I know it's definitely been insanely busy for me, and like many of you, I'm really looking forward to USA Archery's Target Nationals in a few weeks. In previous segments, we started to talk about some form-based topics. But with indoor season right around the corner, I wanted to make sure we got back to talking about equipment selection and equipment setup, because I know there's many beginners that are interested in getting started this season. So let's dive right into that. This segment will be covering the topic of limb selection. Choosing your first set of limbs as a beginner can feel like a daunting task. There's a myriad of limb options available on the market, with advertising that focuses on different shooting characteristics, based on the use of different core materials, construction techniques, and even limb geometry. What complicates this even more is that each limb is offered in different draw weight ranges and physical lengths to suit the specific needs of an archer. As you can see, I'm no stranger to collecting limbs and sampling them. And this small sample doesn't even include those limbs that I've bought and sold over the years, those limbs that I've borrowed from friends and tried out for a period of time, or the handful of limbs that I've lent out and not gotten back yet. What I can tell you personally is that as a beginner, you should choose a limb based on your necessary draw weight requirement and keep the costs as low as possible. As you develop your shooting form, you're going to increase in draw weight, which will necessitate the change of limbs. So spending a lot of money on your first set of limbs into an intermediate or advanced limb is money wasted, because you will have to replace them in a short amount of time. With those cautionary statements made, let's take a quick look at the common materials used in modern limb construction. This should help you to determine how much value these enhancements bring so that you can decide whether they are worthwhile at the point of purchase. At the most affordable end of the spectrum are maple core limbs with a fiberglass backing laminate. This art engineering approach has been used in archery for decades and is considered extremely durable and reliable. Moving up the scale, you'll continue to see maple wood cores or possibly bamboo wood cores, but the fiberglass has been replaced with linear carbon fiber laminate backing. This carbon fiber backing helps increase arrow speed slightly and adds a slight bit of stability to the shot as well. Near the top end of common limb construction, the wood has been replaced with a foam composite. This lightens the swing mass of the limb, increasing arrow speed casts ever so slightly. Additionally, instead of linear carbon fiber laminate, we have crossweave carbon fiber laminates now. This increases arrow speed as well as introduces stability in the limb throughout the shot. At the extreme end of engineering, there are manufacturers that are using entirely carbon fiber weave for the entire limb, or exaggerated geometry into what we call a super recurve for, again, increased arrow speed while trying to maintain as stable a shot as possible. Speaking of geometry, every limb typically comes in a short, medium, or long length. And while the intention is the short limb or the medium limb would match the draw length of the archer for better energy transfer and optimum flex, the practical reality that I've found, especially for beginners, is that there isn't much of an advantage. There is, however, a disadvantage when it comes time to sell the limb. A long limb can be used by any archer with any draw length. You just might lose a little bit of efficiency for shorter draw length archers. Short limb cannot be used by an archer with a very long draw length. It risks overflexing the limb, which could cause potential damage. So my recommendation there is typically for archers to just purchase long length limbs. They'll be easier to resell in the future when the time comes. Aside from limb materials and design considerations, the other major issue that beginners typically have is determining what the draw weight rating for the limb should be for their given riser at their given draw length. For a lot of people, it seems like black magic at first, but it's actually just a simple calculation of math which I'm going to help you understand. The first of two mathematical modifiers to help an archer understand what their final draw weight will be for a given set of limbs on their setup is related to riser length. Most competitive limbs are rated with the expectation they'll be used on a 25-inch riser. So if you're shooting a 25-inch riser, then there's effectively no modifier for riser length. However, not everybody shoots a 25-inch riser. Some opt for shorter risers and others opt for longer. If you shoot with a shorter than 25-inch riser, then effectively you're going to be raising the marked rating on the limb. If you shoot with a longer than 25-inch riser, you're effectively going to decrease the rating on the limb. By how much? It's approximate, but usually the rule of thumb is 1 pound per inch of riser change. If we take the 23-inch riser as an example, because it is 2 inches shorter than a 25, we're effectively raising the limb's marked rating by 2 pounds. Conversely, if we were to shoot the 27-inch, because it's 2 inches longer than the 25-inch, we're effectively going to decrease the marked rating on the limb by 2 pounds. So for a given set of limbs, let's say 30 pounds on this 25-inch riser, those same limbs would effectively shoot at 32 pounds on the short 23-inch riser and 28 pounds on the longer 27-inch riser. Now, all of these numbers are approximate. Every manufacturer has slight variations in their limb pan angle. But the 1 pound per inch of riser change is a good rule of thumb to stick to. The other modifier to consider is related to the archer's draw length. The final draw weight is affected because manufacturers rate their limbs based on an archer's draw length of 28 inches. So for all other draw lengths, an adjustment needs to be made. Let's demonstrate. At 28 inches, the limb will flex a certain amount. For archers with a shorter draw length, you'll come short of that flexed amount. And for archers with a greater draw length, the limb will be flexed additionally. How much does this matter? It's approximately 2 pounds per inch of draw length. Therefore, if you have a draw length at 26.5 inches, you'll effectively be shooting that limb 3 pounds below its marked rating. Conversely, if you have a 29-inch draw length, you'd be shooting those limbs at about 2 pounds above their marked rating. This does not factor in any of the riser modifications we've talked about previously. You'll need to put both of those numbers together to come to your final draw weight. So I hope I've helped dispel some of that black magic in understanding what your final draw weight will be, given a set of limbs and a riser setup. Returning back to our demonstration setup, I've decided to use these MK Imper limbs. I remember them being very smooth and clean feeling on the shot, and I think it's going to be fun to revisit and reuse them. Now, they're marked 26 pounds at 28-inch draw length, and because I have a 27-inch draw length, I'll effectively be shooting them at 24 pounds on a 25-inch riser. I do have a little bit of leeway because the tiller bolts allow you to increase your preload, so I'll be able to get an extra pound or two out of it if I need to for tuning purposes. I trust at this point that I've given you enough information to make an informed decision. And while it's kind of a joke in the archery community, there is some truth to the saying, you can't buy points. The differences between a high-end limb and a lower-end limb most likely won't be noticed, especially by a beginner in barebow. So you have to be honest with yourself when you come to the point of making your purchase. As we come to a close, I did want to touch on one other topic, which is the apparel. There has been quite a bit of interest for international orders, and I have the good news to say that Printify has said that their pop-up shop now supports international orders. However, since I don't reside outside the United States, I don't know how well it works. So if there's someone out there who wants to give it a try, please do and let me know how it works out. Because if someone doesn't try, I can't figure out if there's a problem and fix it. For those of you that I'll see in a few weeks at Target Nationals, it's gonna be exciting and I can't wait. For the rest of you, thanks for watching as always, and I look forward to sharing more information with you in our next segment.